Hello and welcome to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that's Alonzo, that's Christy. There's a new movie opening in limited release called First Reformed, opening in LA and New York this week, May 18th. And they are going to tell you about it.
I will, yeah. This is the latest from Paul Schrader, and it is very much a Paul Schrader film in all the best ways this time, actually. Ethan Hawke, doing some of the best work of his career, I would say, plays a priest at a church in upstate New York. And it's this old historic church that at this point has really become more of like a tourist destination, like a souvenir shop. It's got a lot of history to it, and it has been dwarfed by this giant mega church nearby where Cedric the Entertainer is the pastor. And one day in this very small congregation, Amanda Seyfried comes to Ethan Hawke's character, and she's pregnant, and her name is Mary. And her husband has been depressed, and she wants Ethan Hawke to talk to him. And he gets sucked into their lives in ways that you really don't expect at all from the outset. It takes a lot of turns, and this is very much a Paul Schrader character in the tradition of a Travis Bickle in a lot of ways. He's a man he's haunted, he's got demons, he's got problems, and he's placid on the exterior. And then slowly but surely, like, his obsessions take him over, and he maybe reaches a sort of freedom eventually, or maybe not.
I've decided to keep a journal, to set down all my thoughts and the simple events of my day. I will keep this diary for 1 year, and at the end of that time, it will be destroyed.
So how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
No, really. It's been a while since we've talked. Even a pastor needs a pastor.
Did you see the doctor?
You need someone to take care of you. I want you to be happy.
Yes, Mary.
You must come over. You must come over now.
Explosives.
She was becoming someone I didn't know.
Opportunistic diseases, anarchy, martial law. You will live to see this.
You had no idea that he was thinking of...
No, I'm so frightened.
You think that what we did together was a sin?
I've seen enough real sin to know the difference.
You didn't tell the police, right?
Take a look at your own life before you criticize others.
Paul Schrader, before he was a filmmaker, was a film critic. And he wrote a very influential book called Transcendental Style in Film, Ozu, Bresson, Dreyer.
Right.
Bresson made a film called Diary of a Country Priest.
This is that.
And this is a movie about a priest who lives in the country and keeps a diary and is also a drinker the way that the Bresson character was.
And has stomach ailments.
So
that also makes me think of, who was it that said the best way to critique a film is make your own film?
Godard, yeah.
Godard, right.
So yeah, this is definitely Schrader's take on a film that was very influential to him. And so yeah, and I think it operates in a lot of the same ways in terms of being, you know, in the way that Bresson's complicated characters and their search for a moral compass led us to the Travis Bickles. This is sort of like bringing it back full circle in a way. And also the casting of Cedric the Entertainer in a dramatic role calls to mind Schrader casting Richard Pryor in Blue Collar back in the 1970s.
That occurred to me. And he's great in this.
He is great in this, and Pryor was great in Blue Collar, and nobody had really given him that kind of shot before to do a non-comedic role. So this film feels like a real culmination of a lot of what Schrader does best and what has influenced him as a filmmaker. And yeah, this is his best film in years.
Yeah, it uses narration so skillfully and similar to Taxi Driver. And narration can be a crutch in a lot of ways, but he uses it so well in terms of the increasing contradiction between what he's writing in his journals. He's promised himself in a really austere way with his prim, printed out handwriting that he's gonna write down everything and be truthful. And increasingly, he's not being truthful in the journal as we see what's really happening in his life and what's truly affecting his psyche.
He's his own unreliable narrator.
He really is, and he's still reeling from the death of his son and reacting to that, and that's part of why he does what he does with this young couple that comes to him.
There's a scene where, you know, I mean, like the Hawke character is obviously conflicted and all these things, but the movie allows him to be really cruel.
Yes.
Like when he kisses off the woman that he's been having this affair with, like it's vicious.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, it's just sort of part of the mosaic of who this guy is and what he's about. And even if you don't know about Schrader's influences, I think this film exists on its own as a really powerful drama. And yeah, Hawke is great in this, and I mean, he's been building up a fascinating filmography over the last few years between starring in and writing co-writing the Before or the Before trilogy for Richard Linklater, even his horror stuff like The Purge and not Insidious, but the other one.
Not The Conjuring.
It's one word. It's the films in the attic. That one.
Hold on. I'm going to look it up while you're talking.
Anyway,
yes.
just
I would say The Boyhood leads up to this in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Too, in
yes.
terms of there's no longer a boyishness to him, and he's owning that in ways that are really interesting.
Yes, absolutely. So a Seyfried, I think, is an actress who gets misused a lot by directors. I think she,
Mamma Mia,
for instance, or that Adam McGoyan movie where she comes between Julianne Moore and Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
So everybody I think is really on point here, and Schrader is so in his wheelhouse that if you are a fan of the films that he's written, and directed, this is that. This is the Schrader that you want every time you go into one of those movies that winds up going straight to DVD or something.
Like The Canyons.
That isn't quite. I like The Canyons, but point taken.
There's a notoriety to The Canyons.
Points taken, yes.
This feels like it's weird that it would be a May limited release. Like it feels like it should be a platform release later in the season to get
I'm not
awards
sure what A24 is thinking. I saw this last fall at Venice, and I had assumed they were going to put it into awards contention last year. And rather than wait for this fall, it's out now. So I hope people see it now. I hope people remember it at the end of the year, because I think it is that kind of movie that when you're putting together your best of the year and stuff, it's going to come up.
The movie you're thinking of is Sinister.
Sinister, thank you.
But he was also in The Purge. So I went to a screening of this last week at the Arrow, and Schrader and Ethan Hawke did a Q&A afterward, and he was saying to the moderator that he knew there was a little bit of Travis Bickle in this character, but really didn't notice how much until he was in the editing room. The editor said to him, "Do you know how much Travis Bickle is in this character?" And I guess that type does permeate the best of his work. Like men who are driven and obsessed. And,
Schrader refers to like Taxi Driver, American Gigolo, and Light Sleeper as the Night Trilogy. And he sort of thinks of those characters as being, they're versions of Bickle had he gone on. He kind of puts The Walker in that category too, but that's not a very good movie, I don't think. These are the kind of themes that Schrader keeps coming back to. And I think he's doing it very specifically through a Bresson filter, but it is undeniably Schrader.
Yeah, and it's a really slow burn. It's got a very deliberate pace, which may not be to everyone's liking, but it's also got a very rich sense of place in this very insular nook. It feels bleak and it feels harsh at all times, even though it's supposed to be a very spiritual place.
This is Schrader at his most Calvinist.
Yeah, it's definitely going back to his roots, and I love the ending. That's all I'm going to say. I love the end. I love the openness to interpretation.
Yes,
of the
you'll
ending.
be talking about it.
Yeah, I like that about it. So I'm saying 8.9. I liked it a lot. You said 8.5.
8.5.
Is that what you want? All right.
Yeah, no, I said it in August. That's when I saw this movie.
It stuck with you.
Yeah.
My brain's a sieve. I wouldn't have remembered any of that you remembered. Okay, so 8.7 is our number. Is at 96% on the tomato meter. New York and LA this weekend, and wider later. So go find it.
Seek it out.
Bye.